Here's where it gets really interesting, and why Trump's Fed comments are just as important as the exposure of the Obama plot against Trump. Trump and his economic team aren't just exposing the inner workings of a decades-long coup against him. They are preparing the American people for a huge economic fight. They're bringing you into a public and heated discussion about the very viability of the Federal Reserve. Listen to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
I think that what we need to do is examine the entire Federal Reserve institution and whether they have been successful.
Now listen to Kevin Warsh's comments about the Fed. Warsh is being considered as a replacement for Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell whenever and however Powell's term ends. Here's what Warsh said about the Fed. We need regime change in the conduct of policy. But Warsh's other remarks are frankly even more interesting because he takes to task some hallowed Fed axioms. He said, the Fed seems to see every sign of economic growth as inflationary. That's not how it should be. Economic growth isn't inflation. Growth is how you solve these problems, not cause them. They think inflation comes if the economy runs too hot and workers get paid too much. That's not my view. And then you have Trump himself, who continues to call Powell a numbskull and drills down on the fact that the Fed's high interest rate policies make it impossible for young people to own a home. Put all of that together and you begin to see a concept arising of a different kind of banking system, one that supports a decent standard of living driven by the actual growth of the economy and not the demands of the empire of money. That was once widely known as the American system. Now, Judy Shelton, who was nominated for the Fed in Trump's first term but wasn't confirmed, tiptoed a little closer to the question of the constitutionality, or really the unconstitutionality of the Fed. She said, I don't think it is the role of the Fed to stand in judgment of the economic policies of an elected president. It violates the norms of democratic government to have the head of an agency who is so powerful they can't be fired. Now, in that same CNBC interview, she pointed out that the Fed has been paying hundreds of billions of dollars to private banks for parking cash reserves at the Fed rather than investing in the real economy. Think about that. They're literally paying banks not to invest in productive activity. And the question of productive activity and growing our way out of our deficit crisis and the need to have institutions that support that has become a driving theme of Trump and his allies. This is exactly what William McKinley understood over 120 years ago, that the financial system should serve the productive economy, not the other way around. Trump is bringing back the American system that built this country into an industrial powerhouse. Now,